Hi, my name is Tamara Calkin, and I'm the editor-in-chief for the SLIS Student Research Journal here at the School of Information at San Jose State University. The SLIS Student Research Journal, or SRJ, is a student-run journal based at the School of Information here at SJSU. Our editorial team includes a editor-in-chief, managing editor, and 4 content editors, 2 copy editors, all of whom are current graduate students. SRJ adheres to a rigorous double-blind peer review process, which is the gold standard for academic publishing. If you aren't familiar with the term, it means that editors and authors remain anonymous to one another during the editing process, and it aims to ensure an unbiased review of all submissions to the journal. It also means that you and other scholars can cite SRJ authors and articles as part of your literature reviews and research. And lastly, we are also an open access journal, so all published issues, and there are 11 of them to date, are freely available on our website, hosted through SJSU's institutional repository, ScholarWorks. So the journal accepts submissions from graduate students at the School of Information and beyond. We've previously published authors from as far away as Syracuse University and the University of British Columbia. SRJ is one of the very few graduate-level, student-run LIS journals internationally, so we do attract authors from beyond SJSU. We accept submissions of original research, secondary research or literature reviews, critical essays, and just recently, academic book reviews. So in order to submit to SRJ, you need to be a graduate student at the time of submission, and you need to ensure that your manuscript fits within the journal's scope. So SRJ accepts submissions in all fields of library and information science, archives, and records management, as well as related fields. Manuscripts can address theory, policy, application, or practice so long as it advances intellectual inquiry in the field. Note the emphasis on the last part of that scope statement. So authors need to make sure that their submissions contribute something new and a value. You need to answer the fundamental question, which is ultimately asked of all scholarly writers, which is, so what? Literature reviews should provide new information through analysis, synthesis, and by suggesting future directions for research. For book reviews, you should not just evaluate the work, you should evaluate the work and not just summarize. We want to know the strengths and weaknesses and whether or not the author missed anything. So there's a great article published in the inaugural issue of SRJ, authored by our faculty advisor, Dr. Anthony Bernier, titled Reaching Escape Velocity and the Purpose of the SLIS Student Research Journal. So it's listed as a resource for authors in our style guide on the website. You can find it there. I highly recommend it. It is also required reading for all of our editors. It's a short and readable essay, and it really gets to the bones of what makes for good scholarly writing. This piece will help you not only if you want to submit to SRJ, but likely in any of the other writing or literature review endeavors that you're going to be undertaking as part of your graduate studies. Now, in addition to answering the so what question, there are a couple of other points that I want to make around common errors that we see in submitted manuscripts. So this is an opportunity for you to learn from those who have come before you. Authors whose manuscripts do not make it to publication most often have failed to clearly articulate a thesis. A thesis is not just a topic. It is an assertion, theory, or an argument, and it makes a point. So understanding the difference and the differentiation between a thesis and a topic is really important when it comes to writing. Conclusions and assertions which fail to be based in the literature is another common mistake that we see. So for literature reviews, conclusions should end with a reassertion of your findings and directions for potential future research. You want to be really wary of statements that start with archivists should or libraries ought to. Those are usually markers that you are not basing your statements in the literature. Now, the third bullet point has 3 elements tied together, but all of these are very important and they make a crucial package. So make sure that your manuscript conforms to the submission requirements for authors laid out on the website. I'm not going to go through all of them here. There are quite a few small detail items that you're going to need to note. And this is not just for SRJ. This is really good advice for any journal. You need to make sure that you conform to the style guide, to the journals, policies for authors, and that your submission fits within the scope. It sounds simple, but trust me that it bears mentioning here. Now, lastly, I want to address why authors and graduate students choose to submit to SRJ. So first, and perhaps most obvious, is the profile that comes with authorship. Being published in a double-blind peer-reviewed journal is a sort of achievement that can put you head and shoulders above a competitor in your resume. So this is definitely something to consider. More immediately, this is something that you could use to satisfy a number of competencies for the ePortfolio, which is a requirement for graduation. And the experience itself is also worth mentioning here. The feedback that authors receive from our editors is in-depth, thoughtful, and truly first class. Our editors each spend hours with each manuscript, and that kind of feedback is truly invaluable. Lastly, and this is my personal favorite, submitting to a manuscript for publication allows you to engage and participate in scholarly communication and publishing, so you get to add your voice to the field, and this is really an amazing opportunity for those of us who are in grad school. Okay, so I want to thank you all for hanging in here with me today on this brief introduction to the SLIS Student Research Journal. Please get in contact if you have any follow-up questions. I encourage you all to visit SRJ's website. You can see the archives and what your peers have published and find out how to submit. And I do encourage each of you to think seriously about submitting. This is a great time to dive in and get started with your career. Thanks.